Rain had not touched the town in months, yet the air smelled of storms. The streets shimmered under a low sun, dust rising in slow spirals as if the earth itself was restless. In that stillness, a figure moved quickly, not running, but walking with the urgency of someone who feared being noticed. Mira pressed the strap of her worn satchel tighter against her shoulder. The satchel was too heavy for her frame, yet she carried it as if she could not afford to set it down. Inside was everything that mattered: a bundle of letters, an old silver locket, and something she could not explain even to herself, a small notebook filled with words she had never written, though each one felt like it belonged to her. She stopped at the crossing, scanning the crowd. The town square was alive with chatter, vendors calling out their prices, children weaving through the legs of strangers. To anyone else, it was an ordinary morning. To Mira, it was a stage where every glance felt like suspicion. She could not forget the sound of last night, boots pounding the alley, a voice calling her name, the echo of something breaking. From the cafe's doorway across the square, a man lifted his head. His coat was dark, his eyes even darker, but it was not his stare that froze her. It was the quiet recognition that passed between them, like two mirrors catching the same shard of light. She turned away, heart stuttering. Mira slipped into the crowd, letting voices swallow her. She knew she had only a few minutes before questions began to follow. The notebook had already cost too much. People wanted what was inside it, though she had not yet dared to read beyond the first pages. All she knew was that its words did not belong to any language she recognized, yet she understood them like a memory returning. Above her, the church bells rang. Noon. The square hushed for a breath, all sound folding into silence before life resumed. Mira used the pause to cross unseen, moving toward the narrow lane that led out of the square. But before she vanished, she glanced back. The man from the cafe was no longer at the doorway. She clutched the satchel harder. The story was already chasing her, and she had barely stepped into its beginning. The lane she entered was narrow, a channel of stone walls that leaned inward as if eavesdropping. Here the market's chatter dulled to a murmur, replaced by the drip of an old pipe and the scrape of pigeons on slate roofs. Mira slowed her steps, though her pulse had not yet steadied. She let her hand brush against the satchel, as if to reassure herself it was still there. Inside, the notebook seemed heavier than it should be, pulling at her shoulder like an anchor. She had opened it once, by candlelight, when the town slept. The letters had shifted on the page, alive in their silence, forming meanings she could not explain. She had read only a few lines before shutting it closed, breathless, as though she had overheard a secret not meant for human ears. Her father's voice rose in memory, quiet but firm. Some knowledge is a burden, Mira. Once carried, it cannot be put down. He had said this years ago, before disappearing without farewell. At the time she thought it a warning about his debts, his restless absences. Only now did the words feel sharpened, like they had been meant for her all along. The lane bent, opening into a courtyard where laundry hung like flags of surrender. She paused, listening. Footsteps. Faint, deliberate, echoing hers. Myra's throat tightened. She glanced back, but the bend in the lane was empty. The silence afterward was heavier than sound. A door creaked nearby. An old woman peered from a second-floor window, her face a map of time. She studied Mira with eyes that seemed to know too much, then shut the shutters without a word. Mira felt the judgment, or perhaps the warning, in that single gesture. She quickened her pace, weaving through the courtyard and into another street. Yet the weight of being followed clung to her unshakable. The man from the cafe, had he been real, or just her fear finding a shape? A memory surfaced, sharp and uninvited, 2 nights ago, in her attic room, a slip of paper left under her door. No footsteps, no knock. Only the paper, folded once. Inside, it has begun. Do not trust the watchers. Her breath caught as she remembered the final word, scribbled as if the writer had hesitated. Run. The word echoed now, urging her forward. But where? To leave the town meant leaving behind what little life she had managed to stitch together. To stay meant waiting for the net to close. She pressed on, heart rattling. The world around her seemed the same, yet Mira knew she had crossed into something hidden, something that would not let her return unchanged. Mira reached the iron bridge at the edge of the district, its frame a skeleton against the dusky sky. The canal beneath glimmered with oil-slick colors, sluggish and dark. She leaned against the railing, pulling in air that burned her lungs, willing herself to think. But the city did not grant her pause. A sound broke the evening stillness, leather soles striking stone, unhurried, deliberate. She turned. A figure stood at the far end of the bridge. Tall, coat buttoned high, face hidden beneath the brim of a hat. Not a stranger. Recognition struck like a blow. Elias. Once, he had been her father's confidant, a constant visitor when she was a girl, the man with kind eyes who taught her how to shuffle cards, who slipped her sweets when her father wasn't looking. But now, years later, his presence felt wrong, as though he carried a shadow larger than himself. Mira. His voice carried easily across the span, low and steady. You shouldn't be here. Her throat closed. Why are you following me? His silence stretched. Then, because you opened it, didn't you? His gaze dropped to the satchel. The notebook. Her pulse thudded. She hadn't told anyone. No one could know. Unless her father had trusted Elias with more than she realized. She clutched the strap tighter. You don't understand. Oh, I do. His footsteps echoed as he advanced, each one slow, deliberate. Your father entrusted me with its safekeeping. You were never supposed to carry it. The betrayal in his words stung sharper than fear. Never supposed to carry it. As if she were incapable, as if she hadn't already been carrying the weight of absence, of silence, for years. Something hardened in her chest. Well, he's not here to decide that anymore, is he? Elias stopped halfway across the bridge. His jaw flexed. For a moment, she saw not menace but sorrow. Mira, you don't know what doors you've opened. That book doesn't just hold words. It holds promises. Debts. Names of those who would burn cities to ash to keep them hidden. The wind picked up, lifting strands of her hair, carrying his words into the dark water below. She should have run, but her legs rooted to the steel. For the first time, she realized this wasn't only about family secrets. This was larger, sharper, dangerous in ways she could not yet name. And yet, beneath her fear, a thread of defiance stirred. Maybe she wasn't meant to carry it. But she already was. The choice unfolded sharp and sudden: surrender the notebook and step back into silence, or hold her ground and inherit everything her father had abandoned. She tightened her grip. Then teach me. The words surprised even her. Elias's eyes darkened. On the bridge, with the city watching, everything changed. The bridge groaned beneath them as the evening deepened, steel echoing with every shift of weight. Myra's fingers ached where they gripped the satchel, but she refused to loosen her hold. Elias didn't move closer. He stood at the center of the span, eyes fixed on her, as though measuring the exact moment she might break. You think your defiance is strength, he said quietly. But it's fear, Mira. You're clinging to something you don't yet understand. Her voice wavered but held. I've lived half my life in silence, my father disappearing without explanation, my mother too afraid to speak his name. If that book has the truth, I'd rather choke on it than stay blind. A flicker of pain crossed his face, gone as quickly as it came. You sound like him. She blinked. Like who? Your father. He said almost the same words the night he vanished. He believed knowledge would free him. Instead, it caged him. And now you hold the same key. The confession rattled her. She had always imagined her father's absence as a choice, a selfish escape. Now Elias was painting it as a consequence. A punishment. The air thickened with the clang of a passing tram below, its sparks lighting Elias's silhouette in brief flashes. He reached inside his coat and pulled out a small envelope, yellowed, edges frayed. He extended it toward her. Before he left, he gave me this. Said it was for you, when you were ready. I never thought I'd deliver it here like this. Myra's heart stuttered. She stepped forward, the weight of the satchel dragging at her side. Every instinct screamed caution, but her hands disobeyed. She took the envelope. Her name, written in her father's hand, curled across the front. The sight of it undid her, all the anger she had carried, all the nights she imagined him alive somewhere, indifferent. She pressed her lips together to stop them from trembling. "Why now?" she whispered. "Because once you open that, there's no turning back." Elias's voice roughened. "The notebook, the letter, they are threads of the same knot. And those who tied it, they will come for you, just as they came for him." Her chest tightened. In her palm, the envelope felt like fire. She wanted to tear it open and yet feared what it would confirm. Abandonment? Love? A warning? The city lights flickered to life along the canal, halos in the gathering dark. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for her choice. She slid the envelope into the satchel beside the notebook. For the first time, she met Elias's stare without flinching. Then let them come. The night had thickened to velvet, the bridge lit only by the weak glow of a street lamp. Myra's words still hung in the air, reckless and absolute. Then let them come. For the first time, Elias faltered. His composure cracked, revealing a flicker of something raw, fear, maybe even admiration. But before he could speak, the sound of boots thundered from the far end of the bridge. Figures emerged from the dark. 3, then 5, their coats long, their movements precise. Faces shadowed, but their intent unmistakable. The air shifted, sharp with threat. Elias swore under his breath. "They shouldn't be here yet." His hand went instinctively to her shoulder. "Mira, listen to me." But she pulled back. "You knew they'd come. I thought we had more time." His voice was ragged now, stripped of control. "Give me the notebook. I can draw them away." Her chest pounded, the satchel a weight that felt like both curse and weapon. She saw her father's handwriting on the envelope, her name curling like a promise. All the years of absence, of unanswered questions, pressed into this single choice. The men advanced, their boots ringing against iron. One raised his hand, and the rest fanned out, blocking both ends of the bridge. The canal shimmered below, dark and deep. Elias stepped forward, shielding her. His voice carried. "She doesn't know what she carries. Let her go." A harsh laugh answered. "We don't need her to know. The book is enough." Myra's heart slammed. For the first time, she understood. She was not a daughter grasping at her father's ghost. She was the fulcrum of something larger, something her father had been swallowed by. Her fear crystallized into clarity. If she surrendered the notebook, she would be erased like him, another vanished name whispered about but never remembered. If she kept it, she would become a target, hunted but alive. Alive meant choice. Alive meant agency. Her fingers closed around the satchel's strap, tight enough to cut skin. She stepped out from behind Elias. "You want it?" Her voice shook but carried. "Then you'll have to take me with it." The men stilled, thrown by the sharpness in her tone. For a breathless instant the world froze, the canal below, the lamps above, the sky bruised with night. Elias turned, astonished. She saw in his eyes what her father had once seen, not fragility, but fire. And in that fragile space between violence and silence, Mira crossed an unseen threshold. She was no longer waiting for answers. She was demanding them. The bridge trembled as the first man stepped forward. The bridge became a stage of steel and shadows. The men advanced in measured steps, their presence cutting off every imagined escape. Mira felt the satchel press against her ribs, the pulse of its weight steady as a heartbeat. Elias whispered, urgent, "This is not your fight." She didn't answer. Because it was. The first man lunged, his coat snapping like a wing. Elias intercepted, the clash of bodies loud against the iron rail. Two more surged forward. Mira stumbled back, the satchel slipping on her shoulder. For an instant she saw the canal below, black water, cold promise. She could throw the notebook in. End it. Let it sink, secrets dissolving in silence. The thought tempted her like release. But then she imagined her mother's quiet grief, the unanswered questions, the hollow years. Destroying it would not heal anything. It would repeat the same cycle of absence. Her hands shook as she tore open the envelope instead. Paper cracked beneath her fingers. By the light of the lamp, her father's handwriting unfurled across the page. Mira, if you are reading this, it means the weight has found you. Forgive me. I carried it too long, and it consumed me. But you, my daughter, you are not made to flee. You are made to endure. What I could not finish, you will. The book does not bind you. It frees you, if you are willing to stand. Tears blurred the ink, but she didn't falter. The words, meant for her alone, rang louder than the boots on iron. She looked up, meeting the eyes of the nearest man. Instead of shrinking, she straightened. I know what this is now, she said. Her voice was small, but in the silence that followed, it carried like thunder. The men hesitated. A shift, almost imperceptible. They weren't facing a frightened girl anymore. They were facing the inheritor of something they thought buried. Elias, bleeding at the lip, caught her gaze. In it she saw the echo of her father's faith, the unspoken acknowledgement that she had crossed a threshold no one could drag her back from. The night pressed close. The canal whispered below. The men regrouped, uncertain, their formation rippling. Mira tightened her grip on the satchel, heart pounding with both terror and resolve. The future stretched before her, dark and uncharted. But for the first time, it was hers to choose. She stepped forward into the circle of lamplight, letter clutched in one hand, notebook in the other. And the city, holding its breath, seemed to bend toward her, waiting to see what she would do.